28 hours in a week? Like, that's crazy. So that's when I realized, okay, I not only have expertise in time management for myself, but I know how to help people get intentional with their time and like maximize their schedules as well. So then I went all in on time management coaching. I literally started posting on Instagram, on Facebook, using my warm network. And then eventually, like in 5 months, I replaced what I think it was like 3 times what I was making in my corporate job in a month. So I was like, why the heck am I still at the corporate job? So I ended up leaving. Yeah. And I've been doing this now for 5 years.
Welcome to the Side Hustler Podcast, the podcast for women building their dreams while balancing work, family, and all the things. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc, a wife, mom, marketer, and your side hustling friend here to teach you how to grow a brand that works for you and not the other way around. Whether you're a side hustling pro or just starting out, this is your safe place for real talk, actionable strategies, and the encouragement you need to keep going. We're here to help you make progress and not perfection. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's build your dream one step at a time. Hello, and welcome back to the Side Hustler Podcast. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc, and I'm so excited to have you here today because today's episode is for every single woman who has ever said, I do not have enough time to do this. My guest today is Sade Kelly, and she is about to show you exactly why that is not true and what you can do to get more control of your schedule and buy back time in your everyday routine. Sade is a time management coach who helps ambitious women create more balance and peace while still crushing their goals while balancing everything in between. After managing marketing campaigns for Fortune 500 brands like Coca-Cola and Mercedes-Benz, she shifted her focus to teaching others how to reclaim their time and design a life where work, wellness, and relationships can all thrive. She's a wife, mom, and entrepreneur who really knows everything about time management. We connected on Threads over a conversation about time management. I think it was because Sade had posted something related to mompreneurship and balancing time. And I really knew that I needed to have her here on the show because I know that there's so many people out there that are struggling with juggling a full-time job, building a business, raising kids, managing family life. The calendar is crazy. And so if you're ready to really talk about strategies that can help you buy back time in your everyday routine, then this episode is going to be for you. So in this episode, we're going to learn exactly why I don't have enough time. It's more of a mindset than a fact and how to shift it. The first thing you should do before trying to fix your schedule, how to set realistic business hours, even as a side hustler, the roles of boundaries, routines, and delegations, and preventing burnout, and Sade's favorite tools for keeping your time organized and your energy in check. So if you've been feeling stressed in and you're ready for a system that gives you back more peace and productivity, then you're going to want to take some notes for this one. So let's get into it. Before we dive into today's episode, I have something special for all of my side hustlers out there. Are you building a business while working a 9 to 5 and you're tired of wasting time on marketing strategies that don't actually move the needle? Then you're going to want to get plugged into my weekly newsletter. Every single week, I'm giving you the real behind the scenes scoop on what's actually working in marketing and business. No fluff, no gatekeeping, just real strategies, insights I'm testing in my own business, and practical tips that you can apply right away. If you want to work smarter and not harder and finally start seeing momentum, then head over to cdcreativecoagency.com/newsletter and get locked in. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right. Hello, Sade. Welcome to the Side Hustler Podcast.
Hi, Carly, and hi, all the listeners. I'm excited for this episode today.
Yes, I'm super excited to have Sade on today's episode because we connected on Threads when we were talking about time management, and I really wanted to have someone who really understood how to manage time, how to make your schedule work for you. We know we have a lot of listeners that are balancing, their full-time jobs, their moms, their wives, they have kids and extracurriculars, and they're still wanting to make sure that they're able to build their business while doing all of the things. And so I'm excited for today's conversation because I know that they're going to get so many amazing strategies on how to balance their time better.
Yes, let's get into it.
Yes. Okay, so just for the listeners that are not familiar with who you are, can you give us your story of what led you to becoming a time management coach?
Yes, because it is not what I ever thought I'd be doing. So, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I actually started my first business when I was just 10 years old. It was called Sade Snacks, and I sold snacks to like all the elementary and middle school kids, some even like high school kids sometimes. And I was 10 years old, so it was like a big deal to me. But I decided to go to college, like traditional route, went to Ithaca College. I studied and got a bachelor's degree in business administration, marketing communications. And I spent then the next 6 years as an advertising executive creating a bunch of ads for like huge Fortune 500 brands like Coca-Cola, Comcast Business, Liberty Mutual Insurance, Mercedes-Benz. Like I thought I was living, I thought I was doing it, I thought it was exactly what I wanted. But there was always this missing piece. And I had to figure out what that missing piece was because I didn't feel fulfilled in this career. So naturally, as many millennial women do, we start side hustling. So I started my blog called The Fire Inside, which is now the name of my company, but it was a blog. It was on personal development. I talked about time management, travel, wellness, all the things of just becoming an adult that no one told us about. That blog then led me into doing influencer marketing because it's like kind of like a natural continuation. So I started doing content creation, then quickly realized like that's almost like a job. And it's like so hard to secure things with that. And maybe that's not exactly what I want to be doing. So then I decided, oh, I'm going to do e-commerce. So I started an e-commerce business. And then that did not pan out how I thought it would. So this is like probably over the series of like maybe 2 to 3 ish years. I'm just trying things, seeing how I was going. The whole time I'm working full time, still doing well at my job, switching jobs, getting promotions, like managing teams, managing now people under me while trying to have my own life going on as well. And then after I did e-commerce, I started doing networking events. And that's kind of where things started to click. I was like, oh, I like to talk to people. I like to empower, inspire others. This is like where I'm going to thrive. And then of course, 2020 hits, right? And events get shut down. So it's like, come on, you finally find something that's making you money. You enjoy it. Even at my corporate job, they're asking me to host events, but everything got shut down. So then I actually had a business coach at the time. But before I actually hired this business coach, she was a speaker at one of my networking events. So I already naturally knew her. And she was like, yeah, you need to be an entrepreneur. Like, I already see this. Like, you don't need to be working corporate anymore. And when you first hear that, you're like, yeah, I mean, that's something I want to do, but like
Yeah.
not right now. Like, I can't do that right now. What are you talking about? So she was just like, well, we're going to figure out like what your skills are, and we're going to figure out what you can do and go forward with it. And at first I was like, well, events. And then she was just like, well, it's not really the time for that right now, unless you want to do virtual events. And I was like, yeah, maybe events is not the right thing. But I was like, I do like coaching and inspiring people though. And she was like, yeah, what's something people always ask you? And I'm like, oh, people always ask me like, how do I find the time to do things? They're always like, how are you so disciplined? How are you consistent? Like, how did you have all these businesses and move up the ranks in your job and have a boyfriend and like have be fit and like have a good social life, whatever. And to me, it was just like, well, naturally, I had to get those things in order because I had burnt out and gotten to too many ends of the week crying my eyes out because I didn't make progress the way I wanted or I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I naturally kind of had to take my project management, account management skills from work and start doing those things in my own life. So she actually had me do like I basically did like kind of like I guess like a presentation or like a session with some of my friends. So it was a small group of like 4 or 5 of my friends. They were all creatives as well in the advertising industry, but also wanted to do something on the side. And I did a little time management like presentation. And I remember I literally put a little presentation together, sat in a Starbucks with 4 of us and like did the presentation for them. And they were like, this was so amazing. And I was like, okay, like, let me see if you have guys get any results. Like, just tell me if you get any results at all. And they all came back and was like, well, we saved about 4 hours a day. So like basically 28 hours in the week. And I was like, what? 28 hours in a week? Like, that's crazy. So that's when I realized, okay, I not only have expertise in time management for myself, but I know how to help people get intentional with their time and like maximize their schedules as well. So then I went all in on time management coaching. I literally started posting on Instagram, on Facebook, using my warm network. And then eventually, like in 5 months, I replaced what I think it was like 3 times what I was making in my corporate job in a month. So I was like, why the heck am I still at the corporate job? So I ended up leaving. Yeah. And I've been doing this now for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've said so many like amazing things in just that one little segment. And I know we're going to dive deep, but I'm just like, just like your whole journey, from pivoting from really figuring out, what you're good at.
Mhm.
So many times people like think, okay, I don't know what I'm good at. Like, I don't know, what is something that I could
Mhm.
possibly sell. And
Mhm.
we never think about the things that come so easy to us, that come so natural to us, that is a struggle for other people, Like, I
Yeah.
have one friend who she is just amazing at putting together events like DIY. And she's like, oh, I can work with a $200 budget. And it's like, you think whenever I'm like trying to plan something, like that's not easy. And so
Mhm.
sometimes we really don't take into effect of how amazing our skill sets are, and how like you can really, once you hone in on your skill set and really like use it as a way to serve people, how
Mhm.
it can in return serve you and be in a position like you where you're able to triple your income that you have from your corporate job just by monetizing your skill set. So this is amazing, and I'm super excited. I know that we're going to get into it, but I just thought that that was amazing, because I feel like that's confirmation that someone who's listening, that's like, I don't know what I'm good at. And it's like, no, you know what you're good at. You're just sleeping on yourself. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on here.
And sometimes you need somebody to pull it out of you too. Like you're not always consciously aware of it.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever found yourself stuck on what to post or struggling to stay consistent on social media? I've been there, and that's exactly why I created this free guide called 30 Days of Done For You Social Media Prompts for Personal Brands. This guide is loaded with prompts to get your gears turning so you can have a gallery of content to create for your brand and never stress about what to post again. And you can grab it right now at cdcreativecoagency.com/content and start creating content that connects without the stress. For sure, for sure. And so I want to get into like time management. Okay.
Mhm.
So a lot of people that are working full-time jobs that are also building their businesses, the main thing they always say is they don't have time. And like, what is your rebuttal to that? Because I feel like we have time, but it's just the fact that the things that we spend time on is what makes us feel like we don't have enough time.
Yes, like our feelings are not facts, okay? That's one. We can have many of things that we feel. It doesn't mean they are factual or true, right? So one of the biggest things that hold people back is that they believe they don't have enough time. Just that mindset alone makes you focus on not having enough time. So you're running from this anxious and stressful place of never having enough time always running out, not knowing what to do first. Like if you keep reiterating that in your mindset, it's going to keep showing up in your life. Like there's this part of your brain, which I'm sure many of us have heard of, the reticular activating system. It's literally the part of your brain that wants to focus on and show you what you tell it. So it's going to keep showing you the things you say are true. So you end up in this cycle that you don't know how to break. So for many side hustlers, especially, like we're managing so many different things, and then we forget to rework our mindset. Like that is a big part of time management. It's not always something that I taught, and it's usually not something that people go to when they talk about time management, but we have to touch on mindset because that's the number one thing that is going to affect how you even feel or how you perceive your time. The other part of it and why they feel like they don't have enough time is they're not intentional, like you said, about their time. They're not prioritizing their time. They're not blocking it out and protecting the blocks, right? Because everyone knows about time blocking. But then when my clients come to me, it's, well, I'm time blocking. And it's not working. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't protect your time and you give yourself 91 things to do on Monday because you're so ambitious on Monday and it doesn't work out. And then you're just dragging yourself through the week. So it's a mixture of mindset and a mixture of not properly planning and then executing the way you want to.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm probably one of those people that fall into the second category for sure.
Gotcha.
Because I'm always like, and it's always things like, the things I don't want to do. Like, I don't have time to fold clothes. I don't have time to go to the gym. Like, it's things like that. And it's like, I have time for everything else, but I don't have
Mm-hmm.
time to do those things. And so even this week, I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to be intentional about scheduling my workout time and really like holding
Mm-hmm.
myself accountable to go to these classes that I pay for, because
Exactly.
that's important, And so
Yeah.
I agree when you're talking about about people that are like, that don't really hone in, because time blocking is definitely a skill, but if you're not, holding yourself accountable to abide by the rules that you're setting on your calendar, then that's exactly why it's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. And even to the gym, right? Because I think that's always a good example that the things that we don't necessarily want to do are the things that we tend to put off or say we don't have the time for. But one thing I like to work through with clients is reminding them of like your energy. A lot of it comes from your movement, your sleep, your wellness, what you're drinking, like what you're eating, right? So if those things aren't correct or in alignment, it's gonna affect how productive you are. So I like to think about it like that. Like even when I don't want to go to the gym, I'm like, well, if I go to the gym, I'm gonna get more energy. I'm gonna be able to knock out something in an hour that probably would have took me 3 hours when I was lethargic and tired, right? So
Yeah,
if that helps,
it
maybe
does.
reshift.
It does. It definitely does, because I can tell, like, even when I like to go to the gym later in the afternoon, and so
Mm-hmm.
even with that, like whenever I'm coming back home and I'm able to get a good night's rest because I've worn myself out. So you're absolutely right. So what are some practical time saving strategies that side hustlers can start implementing in their weekly routine?
Okay, so the first one is going to be start off with a time audit. So if you've never audited your time, you should start with that. That's the first thing because you have to have some data and know where you're at. Like I always tell clients, you cannot get to where you want to be if we don't know where you're at. And a lot of times when I get on calls with people, their initial call, they're telling me, oh, my schedule's like this, and I do this, and I do that. And then when I have them actually audit their time, like write out for maybe a 3 days to a week what they're actually getting done, it doesn't always align, right? Because we're not always conscious of the little small things that take our time. So I would recommend doing a time audit, look at where your routines are, where your time is going, get clear on your productivity patterns. Like, what do you like to do? What do you tend to do at night or in the morning or in the afternoon? What days do you tend to like to do content versus maybe like to talk to clients or take meetings or whatever it is? We can really learn a lot about you so we can leverage that, right? So do that time audit. Then from there, we can start creating your favorable schedule. Because what is that going to look like? It's going to look like a mixture of what you're already doing that's working, and then let's improve the parts that aren't working. So find the hours that you want to dedicate to each of the different things you have going on in your life. And that'll be dependent on where you're at. So I know most of the people watching this or listening to this will be side hustlers. So, and they're probably moms, like you said, and they also have probably wellness goals, things of that nature. So think, and personal development is also another thing. So write out how many hours you want to spend to each and everything. Like in a week's time frame, how many hours do you want to dedicate to personal development? How many hours do you want to dedicate to your job? Like, and really dedicate to your job, because let's be real, I was a side hustler for a while. Okay, I know that full 8-hour workday ain't going straight to the job. Okay. So like let's be serious about like how much time do we actually need, and then what are our work hours for our business, because that's a part that for some reason almost every client I've worked with that side hustlers, they don't have set hours for their business. And I'm like, how do you not have set hours? Like maybe they have set hours for when they take clients, but they don't have set hours for like, this is the time that I'm going to work on my business. So think about what are those set hours, and then what are the hours you want to dedicate to your wellness, your meal prepping, your laundry, the things we have to do or we can outsource, but like we have to be accounted for, right? So after you have those things set up, then we can start to work on, okay, what is your ideal schedule? Start writing that out. You could do that in a calendar, in a project management software, task management software. Like the tool doesn't mean as much as like people like to say, right? Because it's really about like the system behind the tool, because the tool could be amazing and beautiful, but if you're not using it right, it doesn't do anything for you. So the tool can be whatever, you decide. The third part of it is time blocking it in though. So you do want to make sure you are blocking your time, but like I mentioned earlier, you want to overestimate a bit, because what I see is most people have some type of time blindness where they think something takes them 30 minutes or 5 minutes and it takes them like an hour and a half. And that is throwing us all off because
You're
we're
literally reading me.
I'm glad though, because I think this is going to be so helpful for most people, because I'm so passionate about this too, because I know what this is like, because this was me at a point. So it's like I can really relate to each and every one of my clients. So because I know what it's like, I'm gonna put 30 minutes for everything. And then it's like, oh, that actually takes me like an hour 45. Why did I give myself 30 minutes? And now I'm behind on every other time block. Now the rest of the week is messed up. Why do I even try? Yeah, exactly. Just throw it out the window. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So So you do the time audit, you create your favorable daily schedule, and then start time blocking in, giving yourself more time than you think you need, scheduling in breaks, not trying to put too many priorities in. I know a lot of people like the top three, and I think the top three can work for some people, but how I like to think about it is more so like I want to give myself 4 or 5 hours or however many hours that I said I wanted to work on my business. That's how much task I want to give myself. So if I work in my business 4 or 5 hours, like right now I'm in a season, I just had my son, he's 9 months, almost 10, and I'm still taking care of him full time. So I know I can get about 4 to 5 hours of work done. So I'm only going to give myself about 4 hours worth of work. And if I can get more done, hey, maybe I'll get a whim of energy at night. But for the most part, during his naps, I'm knocking out about 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours of work in a day. Then after you've done that, the last thing is going to be delegating. And I think that is something that we all shy away from. But I think if you are a side hustler, you're in a really unique position because you have dedicated money coming in, right? Like as business owners, sometimes it can fluctuate a lot, but you have a steady check that you can allocate towards whatever you don't want to do. So if there are things that you don't want to do, you can start getting someone else to do it to save you some time, whether it's like meal prepping, grocery shopping, an assistant, creating automatizations, laundry. Like just think of things that you don't necessarily want to do. Even having somebody pitch you for podcasts or pitch you online or someone DMing all your followers, whatever it is, like you can hire for a lot of these things that are taking up a lot of your time that you don't necessarily have to do. So those four things will be game changers for any side hustlers just to get more done in less time.
Oh my gosh. Y'all already know I'm all about working smarter and not harder, especially when it comes to marketing your brand. And if you're still relying only on social media to reach your audience, we need to fix that immediately. Social media is cute, but let's be real. The algorithm is unpredictable and your content is probably only reaching a small percentage of your followers. That's why I swear by email marketing, because when I send an email, I know 100% of my subscribers are getting my messages. And the best part, Flowdesk makes it ridiculously easy. You can send beautiful on-brand emails, automate your sequences, and even create landing pages without needing to be tech savvy. And because you're listening, I got you a deal. Use my code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout and you'll get 50% off your Flowdesk subscription for the next 12 months. So if you're ready to stop relying on algorithms and start building an email list that actually converts, try Flowdesk for free. And don't forget to use the code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout for that exclusive 50% off. I feel like, first of all, I have some work to do. I have some work to do. But no, this is so rich. This is really, really rich because I think that even for myself, I'm one of those people where I am like, okay, after work, I can find myself sitting at my computer from 5 when I get off to all the way to like 2 a.m. And like, I'm neglecting my family, like I'm neglecting, all of the things. And so I think that this is definitely a game changer. I really love the fact that you talked about having business hours of when you actually like do your admin tasks, because I do have hours for when I, work with clients. But as far as like, me, like when are we cutting that off? And that kind of brings me to my next thing about boundaries and setting routines, because when you are a person like you and I who have kids, who have a family, like we can't just always be so like head down in our computer. Like my husband will come tap me on my chair like, it's time for you to go to bed. And I'm like, I need to get this done. But also, I really, really love that you talked about delegating and I think that that's such a good thing because, even as moms, we sometimes feel like we have to do everything when it comes to our kid. And so I'm even in a place now where I've been looking at my calendar and finding things that I can delegate. So I'm in the process of trying to find a nanny. I'm in the process of bringing on a VA. I have someone that I already work with that does all of my editing. And then I also have people that come and clean my house. And so even just by me having those things, and I think that's one of the things that is so, so amazing about running a business while having a job is that you do have that flexible income to where, if you do have clients coming in and then you're still collecting your check from your 9 to 5, like you got a little bit of money to play with. So now you're able to get more things done because you're outsourcing the things that don't necessarily have to be done by you. So that is amazing. And I know somebody's going to be like, okay, Sade. That is exactly what I need to hear. So kudos to you, sis. If you're listening and you're about to hire somebody, I love that for you.
Me too.
So I want to talk about boundaries
Mhm.
and how important setting boundaries is with our calendars. You know, sometimes we have family members that like want to just pop things up on your calendar, or you know, even like people that want to sit on the phone all day and talk to you, and you're like, I gotta get to work. So what is your take about setting boundaries and building routines, but then also having those boundaries support your goals, but also support the type of like family person that you want to be?
Yeah, so it's gonna go back to once again thinking about what do you really want. So not just what does it seem like a good wife does, or what does a good mom do, or what does a good woman in business or in
Mm.
career do? Because a lot of times we're stuck on the things that we've been told we should be doing, like how you mentioned as a mom. Even though I know like that I have to work on what I want. When I became a mom, I was looking at all these other mom figures. Like, what do I do? How do I do this? Do I
Mm-hmm.
have to do everything? He only wants me. How do I deal with this? Right.
Yeah.
And then I had to realize, oh no, you need to set boundaries with yourself because you are still you. You're still Sade at your core. You need to remember like who she is and what she likes to do and what she's going after. You can't lose that in becoming a mom or in becoming a wife or whatever role that you've now, like maybe you got a promotion or your business is growing in a certain way. You can't lose that part of you. So you want to think about, okay, what can I say no to that doesn't align anymore with who I am becoming or who I want to become, and because I'm saying no, what am I now saying yes to fill that time up? So if you know you want to spend a couple hours at night with your kids and you want to have intentional time with your husband, you have to start planning that in, right? You have to plan that time in, that dinner, that date, that nanny, like whatever it is, so you can have that time, and you have to protect it by any means necessary, just like how you protect a meeting. A lot of times we all will protect meetings with our boss or with a client, with someone else, but we don't protect meetings with loved ones, with ourselves, with our friends. Like that's the things we'll always push first. Oh, I can push that workout. Oh, I can push that lunch. But those are the things that fill your cup up. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're never going to achieve that balance and that peaceful life that you're looking for, even if you're making millions of dollars. I've met plenty of millionaires who are unhappy and come to me for like, how the heck do I implement self-care? How do I not only just get more massages, but like I need to go to the doctor and make sure I'm getting my checkups and taking care of myself and I look presentable and my anxiety is lower. Like there's so much that comes with boundary setting, protecting your energy, making sure you're learning how to communicate clearly with with loved ones, because I do think a lot of us set boundaries and then we're like, why don't they follow them? Like I told them, this is not the hours to call me, mom. Just because I'm an entrepreneur doesn't mean you can call me whatever time. Like this is stuff real life that I've had to deal with too. And it's like you have to keep enforcing the boundary. Like my mom's retired. She looks at me like, oh, she's just retired, so she just be doing whatever she want all day. No, like I have to work. So I think it's a mixture of like saying no to the right things, saying yes to the right things, protecting your energy, reinforcing and communicating your boundaries with others, but also with yourself, because sometimes we're mad at other people, but really like we're going against our own boundaries. Like maybe our screen time's a little up, or we're scrolling and we said we were going to be reading, or like we said we'd be working on our diet, but then yeah, we're eating whatever the heck we want. Like we have to also hold the promises that we set for ourselves so that we're in alignment too. You know, all of it kind of
Yeah.
has to be in alignment to become more intentional with how we set up our routines and how we set up our boundaries. And if you want me to go into like morning routine, night routines, I can go into those things too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that was kind of like my boundaries spiel. But when it comes to routines, I love routines. And a lot of times people think they don't have routines. And I want everyone listening to know you absolutely already have a routine. Maybe it's just not the most optimized routine. So let's talk about like how we can optimize it for ourselves. So I love a morning routine. No matter what time you decide you want to wake up, you pick that. I think a lot of people out there are telling everyone they need to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm not team wake up at 5. I see Carly shaking her head. Yeah. So yeah, not team wake up 5 a.m. That's just not my energy, right? Because all of us have this is like I go into science, so I'm not going to go too deep, but like there's different chronotypes based off our biology, right? And and depending on your chronotype, it's going to depend, like it's going to affect what time you wake up, whether you are more of a morning person, a night, early morning, a late morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, like those things going to vary. There's actually a great quiz by the sleep doctor. You guys should just look it up and take it and see what chronotype you are, because it's going to give you a lot of information on which one you are. Yeah, you should do it. Because now that I know my chronotype and when I know clients' chronotype, it's like, okay, your morning routine should be around sunset because that's, or sunrise, because that is like when you are most energized. Or maybe it should be a little later depending on your chronotype, right? So figure out what's your optimal time for waking up. And of course, that's going to vary. If you have a job, it doesn't matter what your chronotype is. You got to wake up in time to go to work, but figure that out. And then I always say, have something in the morning that lights you up. So I'll give an example of my routine. I like to wake up and I immediately like to journal. I tend to wake up with a lot on my mind and just kind of like, I've always kind of been like that person who's just ready to get going. I have all these things going on in my head, right? So yeah, I don't know why. It's just how I wake up. So I like to journal in the morning and I like to think about like, okay, what went well yesterday, what didn't go so well, like what am I grateful for, what do I love about myself, and how do I want today to go. It just kind of sets the tone for my day, and that takes me maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. After I've done that journaling, then I like to do my quick meditation. And right now, sometimes I'm doing that meditation and I'm breastfeeding at the same time because I'm a mom and it is what it is, right? So I'll do that. And then I do my devotional. I start listening to an audiobook and then I'm getting myself ready for the day. I'm cooking breakfast. I'm cooking for my son. Like I'm doing those things all at the same time, but it kind of like lights me up. And that's how I start my morning before I get into like my work tasks or whatever it is I'm doing with my son that day. And then at night, I also like to have some type of routine to wind down the day. So I always recommend everyone have something that breaks up the day. So even if you're going back to your laptop, giving Carly's example, and you want to like sit from 5 to 2 a.m., have something to break up the day. So it doesn't seem like you end work, close your laptop, and then open up another, and then just like always working. Have something to kind of break up the day, whether it's like you cook dinner with your family, you watch a TV show, you play with your son, like you talk to your husband, whatever it is, something fun that just makes you feel like, okay, maybe I wind down a little bit. And then I do my second shift at whatever that business task that I need to get done. And then I also make sure I turn it off at least an hour before bed if you can. 30 minutes be like the closest. But you want to have some time to also decompress, shower, think about the next day, prepare, stay away from screens, and like then go to sleep, because all of that's also going to affect the quality of sleep that you get. And we need quality sleep in order to be productive.
Okay, real quick, if you've been showing up on socials and still not getting the results you want, I want you to listen up because I'm offering free social media audits exclusively for my Side Hustler listeners. If you're not sure if your page is actually attracting the right clients or if your content feels all over the place, or you just want to make sure that you're on the right track when it comes to building your brand, I got you. These audits are where I go in and I look at your page and I give you the personalized feedback on what's working, what needs to shift, and how to start creating content that actually converts. I'll also drop a few tips and strategies that most people aren't sharing because I want to see you win. And the best part about it, it's free, my friend. So head over to cdcreativecoagency.com/audit and secure your audit today. Yeah, no, that is so rich. So rich. Yeah, I'm not a morning routine type of girl. Like I'm like the type, okay, I have an 8 a.m. meeting. I'm getting up at 7:58. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. Like that's just how I function. I have my morning meetings and I get my kid off to school and then, I start my day at like, 10 o'clock. Like well, I start doing actual work. Like I'll have morning meetings, but for those morning meetings, like if I don't have my coffee before then, I'm probably like dazed and confused because mornings are so hard for me. But at night, like people are always like, you're emailing at 11 o'clock at night. And that's when I feel like, on point, like stellar, like just very, very productive. So it's so funny when I meet people and they're like, I have this whole hour routine when I wake up in the morning. And I'm like, I'm rolling out of bed 2 minutes before I need to get up.
Well, it's gonna vary, like depending on like your chronotype and your patterns. So, like I said, like that was my morning routine, but maybe for you, that's like the best option for you. I would recommend though, maybe like something 10 minutes before, so that we don't wake up like a little bit too stressed.
Yeah.
but you can test it out and see, you know?
Yes, no, I agree. I agree. And that's one thing I told myself. I always tell myself, I'm like, oh, I want to be a morning person because I've always felt like inspired
Mhm.
when I see people on Instagram that are like, this is my morning routine. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, it looks great, but it's just like when my alarm goes off, like I autopilot turn my alarm off. Like I don't even remember turning my alarm
Mhm.
off. So I'm definitely going to take the quiz because I'm very interested to see what it will tell me. But I kind of already know because
Yeah.
even in college, I was the same way, you know? So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's so, so good. So I want to kind of talk about how we can avoid burnout when we are balancing the two. I know you kind of hit on it about setting those boundaries and having routines and really like, guarding your time that you have allotted for tasks on your calendar with your
Mhm.
life. But a lot of people are finding themselves, when they're doing the same thing week after week after week after week, that they start to shift to burnout, and then they don't have that same drive and desire to continue in business. So how do you help your clients prevent or even just come against, what am I trying to say? How
Like
do you
overcome
help
it.
them to overcome burnout?
Yeah, I knew you were going. So, when it comes to overcoming burnout, I go through my overwhelm to organize method. So, I'll quickly kind of give an overview of what that method looks like. And it begins with gaining clarity. So, getting really clear on not only your productivity patterns, but also like what are your goals? And do you have a roadmap for whatever those goals are? What are limiting beliefs that you have that may be holding you back? And what are routines that may need some fine tuning? So a lot of times we have to understand, where's the burnout coming from? Is it from like you're overloading your days with too many tasks? Maybe your context switching too much. You don't have any type of alignment for the task on each day. Maybe you are saying yes to way too many things to others, or you're not getting enough sleep, or like you're not drinking enough water. Like it really can vary. We have to figure out where the burnout is coming from. A lot of times it's not only physical, but a lot of it is mental. Like we're just doing too many things, making too many decisions, and trying to take on everything for everyone. And that is usually for my clients where the burnout is coming from. So we get clear on where it's coming from and what you want. Once we know that and we have a roadmap for like how you're going to achieve your goals, then we can get into, okay, how do you master the art of showing up for yourself? So how do you become consistent? We all know the buzzword online is you got to be consistent. You want to be successful, you got to be consistent. As much as we don't want it to be true, it is true. And consistency though is not always 100% or perfect. And that is where a lot of high achievers, side hustlers, we go wrong when we think that, okay, if I need to be consistent, that means I need to show up every day at 100% every, like all the time, never can fall. Like that is where, if you're trying to do that, you're going to burn out really quickly because your energy dips and ebbs and flows all throughout the month, especially if you're a woman. Like we went on a cycle where we have about 2 good weeks, okay? And then the other two, so
Not so
yeah,
much.
not so much. So we have to take all of that into consideration when it comes to our energy and how we show up for ourselves. And we also have to be consistent with our self care. I know I talk about that so much, probably in this episode, I've said it about 1,000 times, but like self care is so important when you want to be peacefully productive. So we get consistent on figuring out, what do you want to be consistent on? What habits do you want to build? How can we get you to a place where you feel confident following through on those things? And then the last part of it is, now we create systems. So we know what you want. We're clear on where you're at, where you're going, how to show up, consistency, like all of that's in check. Now, how are we going to make sure that you know how to set priorities? Because that's where the systems come into play. Like, do you know how to say, okay, this is a needle mover, and this, if I can get this done, it'll impact this, which will also impact that. Like, what are the, almost like that first domino that can knock everything else out? Like, how do we get you to a place where you know how to select priorities and schedule things in a manner where you feel like you're allocating enough time to each of the areas of your life and you feel confident about that? So that's that systems piece. And I kind of touched on that. It's like the tool doesn't matter so much, but it's more so like, what's the processes behind like the things that you need to get done in your life, whether it's in your personal life, your work life, or your business. Do you have processes set up? Do you know what the steps are? Are they automated? Are they systemized? Do you have like a way of going about it that is streamlined, that you feel confident about? That's like the one thing that if we can get that in check, you'll get to a place where you don't face burnout again because you always know where all the different things in your life are going to be placed. I always say, like, if we can get your puzzle together, you'll be together. And by puzzle, I mean all the different things you're doing and managing are your puzzle pieces. And if we can create the puzzle, the beautiful thing that flows together and fits in its place, it takes away the overwhelm, the anxiety, the stress, and the burnout for the most part, right? Because those things are going to come up. Like I always tell clients, like, just because I taught you this method doesn't mean you're never going to feel overwhelmed again. That's a
Yeah.
natural reaction.
Yeah.
But what it teaches you is how to adapt and react when you do have those feelings that come up. And that's really powerful because if I've taught you that, you can always go back to it and do it again.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of like the whole saying, like, teach a man how to fish and he'll never have to like starve or, but
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I
But
got you.
yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know that you were talking about that the tools doesn't necessarily matter, but what are some tools that you would recommend that people can start to use to help them stay consistent with their time management and their scheduling?
Yeah. So I'm always wary of tools, right? Because everyone loves the tools. So that's why I say, like, the tools they're not, it's not that they don't matter, they're great, but the system behind how you use the tools is really, really important. But when it comes to tools, I'll name some of my favorites. So my first one that I love for task management is called Sun Sama. It's a really cool tool. What it does is it syncs up with like your Google Calendar, any Google Calendar. It syncs up with Outlook calendars. It syncs up with Todoist, Trello, Notion, like any of the other platforms, Asana that you may be using to manage your projects in work or in your business. It syncs up everything into one spot. And when I found this tool, it was like revolutionary because I had clients who would come to me and they're like, I use Asana for work, and then I use Todoist for my personal and my business life, but then I also use Trello. And yeah, and it's like they were like, well, I have to keep jumping between all these different things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to find a tool that like syncs these things up. And then since Sama reached out for a partnership, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly like what I need. Yes, yes. So then, yes. And now I'm an affiliate for them and I love them. And I'd be happy to give my link too. So if anyone wants to try it out, yes, I will.
It'll be linked down below in the description.
Yes. So it's able to sync up everything. What I also love about this tool is you can literally time block and set the duration for each task and any subtask. So not only do you figure out where you want your time to go and how long you want to take for things, it'll also let you time track. So naturally, as you're doing the task, you press play, it time tracks for you, it reminds you when to take breaks, and it syncs up into data at the end of the week. So for me, I'll sync up all my tasks, I'll time track throughout the week, I'll track what I planned versus what I did, and it'll give me a report, all built into one tool. And I love data, so it's just perfect, right? So that I love that tool. Now that might be a bit robust for some people. Sometimes clients are like, whoa, this is a lot going on. Okay, so there's easier tools like Google Calendar. Just using Google Calendar alone can be really great. You take your tasks, you prioritize them, and then you put them in, you time block them into a calendar. A lot of people like doing that as well. I would say those two are like my favorites. We all know there's a bunch of different other project management, task management tools out there, but those are the two that typically I recommend. I think they're really simple. If you're a paper girl, you can get a paper planner. You can use a little physical calendar. Those work as well. I'm not a paper person, so I usually don't recommend that. I think for most people, we got to go digital because everything we're doing is online, and it reminds us. Paper planners don't remind you of anything, right? So they could be nice to write things down, but those are the tools that I would recommend: Sansama and Google Calendar.
That's so good. So good. So I know that everyone that's listening is probably like, okay, I have a lot to work to do. I mean, I know I'm looking at myself like I have a lot of work to do. So tell us about how we can work with you and how we can connect so where you can help us to get our time together and not feel so overwhelmed by our schedules.
Yes. So the first step to us figuring out if we're a good match for each other is booking a time audit call with me. And that is where I will diagnose your time gap. So I will literally look at where your time is going, where you want it to go, and where is that gap that you're having in between where you want to be and where you're currently at. And then we'll come up with a system on how you can close that gap and start managing your time the way you want to be, achieving your goals 6 times faster, saving 28 hours a week, whatever it is that your goals are. And we go from there. So I have a service called Overwhelmed to Organize. That's my signature coaching program. That's a 3-month coaching program where I literally walk you through how to get clear how to get consistent and how to implement those systems in your work, your business, personal life, all of the things. If you're interested in that, like I said, you just book a time audit call and we go from there. Because if you're not a good fit, I will tell you like who you should be working with, right? Like I'm one for that. I'm not going to just take on anybody. I'm like, maybe you should be doing this. But if I truly think we're a good fit, I'm going to be like, no, this is the program you should be doing. Or maybe sometimes I work with people and it's like, they don't necessarily need a long-term program. And it's like, maybe they'll do a session with me and they'll kind of get it together. And I just give them a couple optimizations and they go off on their own. So there's different ways to work together. Also, I think you asked where they could find me too. Was I sharing that? Okay. So you can also find me on my website, thefireinsidesade.com, and then on every social media platform, but I'm mostly on IG, Threads, and TikTok. And my name is Sade Kelly _ on all of those things.
Yes. This was so rich. So rich. And I'm like thinking to myself, and the thing is, I've always thought I was a good like time person, time management. But this definitely gave me a reality check that we got some work to do. So I'm so excited. So I know I got a lot away from this episode. So I know that there's going to be so many people that are like, oh my gosh, this was eye-opening. So thank you so much, Sade, for coming to the podcast and dropping the gems. And also for everyone that's listening, please make sure that you connect with Sade. You follow her on Instagram. She's also on Threads. But connect with her. Let her know if you found this episode helpful. And then also we'll have down link below the link to where you can access her website and book your audit call. Thank you again, Sade, for everything. This was absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Carly, for having me. And I'm sure you are good at time management, but there are always ways to optimize. So don't be too hard on yourself. But yes, thank you everyone for listening. I would love to connect with you all. Like Carly said, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. I would love to chat. If you have additional questions on anything I said, we can talk about it. And I also have so many resources on my social media that you can use for free. So I'm just happy to be here. And thank you for having me. This is good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Side Hustler Podcast. I hope you're leaving here today feeling inspired and ready to take your next step. If you love this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another side hustler who needs to hear it. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Carly Dorlin. I'd love to hear about your side hustling journey. Remember, you're doing better than you think, and your dreams are so worth it. Until next time, keep hustling, sis. You got this.